What is going on, guys, and welcome to episode 12 of the Listen Whilst You Step podcast. Again, we've got the man, the myth, the legend, Danny Blandon on the podcast, and a super cool topic today, and something which I think a lot of you are going to take a serious amount of value from. What we're going to touch on is talking all about yo-yo dieting. Both me and Danny have definitely experienced some stuff with yo-yo dieting in the past, and I think anybody who's really taken their training and their nutrition seriously definitely has, and I definitely think you learn from it the more times you cut, you bulk, or you just try and diet in general. So we want to try and give you some of our biggest takeaways that we've learned over the years when we've gone through these periods and how we've dealt with them so that you don't have to do it yourself. But at the time of recording this, we are in kind of a lockdown. It's like a lockdown, but not a lockdown in Jersey. It's Christmas next week. So, Danny, how are you finding training and things whilst in lockdown?
Yeah, it's pretty shit at the moment, isn't it? Gyms have been closed for 12 days, something like that, and it feels like it's been a lifetime.
Yeah, man.
You know, it's just like pull-ups, press-ups on the daily. Managed to get hold of a 20-kilo bar, but that's about it. Land some bands, so just keeping ticking over, really.
Just banded RDLs all day.
You know it, just one purple band over and over and over.
I can just see that snapping already. Oh, no, we've got horror stories. How have you found them kind of motivation without gyms then?
I proper lost my head on the first day, but I told myself this time I'm going to actually focus on the food, not just go off the rails, eat what you want because gyms aren't open. Actually hit your protein or make that the biggest focus to hit what you normally hit or more, just to make sure you're in a sound place ready to go for when gyms are open.
Yeah.
And don't just think, fuck it, gyms are closed for a month, I'm not going to do anything. I actually start doing yoga, believe it or not, in the mornings.
Oh.
There's something different to work on. You actually go back to the gym, slightly more mobile, just, fresh.
Yeah, massively. I did a webinar for our clients, and it was kind of talking about how we can use this as an opportunity. Like, instead of lockdown 2.0, it's opportunity 2.0. So you can focus on those weaknesses, like, you've got really tight hips, you've got dodgy knees.
Yes, I'm doing stretching, rolling on the daily, really, just trying to get fresh and 100% ready to go back.
As soon as we go back January, we go on big. We go on big.
Yeah.
Let's go. So anyway, mate, let's kind of get into the main topic of today. It's going to be all about that yo-yo dieting. And just want to kick it off by let's just dive a little bit deeper, bud. What is your kind of experience with yo-yo dieting?
So, typically, it's not like so much of a yo-yo diet, but normally, if I'm going to do a cut, you're similar to me, is your cut ready for a holiday? And then, so you've gone hard, you've dug deep, you get to that holiday and you just go, yeah, fuck it, all inclusive, a week, 2 weeks, diet goes completely out the window, you come back at least 5 kilos heavier. And then that instantly kicks you into that yo-yo diet. So like straight away off the plane, you're like, right, I've got to pull this back. Then you go deep and then you just kind of start that cycle for a little bit. Or you got the other side of it is, say, if you're emotionally a bit all over the shop, you will find yo-yo dieting and can start that way if your head's not properly 100% stable, because eating's quite emotionally linked. Do you know what I mean? I done at the start of this year, went for a breakup, body weight was fluctuating by 5 kilos each week. 1 week I'd absolutely be bang on, steps, training, and then the following week would just go fucking out the window. Ben & Jerry's, Domino's, you name it. Got to a point my mum was like, what are you doing? She slammed the fridge on me. She's like, no, stop it.
That's when you know it's getting out of hand, when your mum's doing that to you.
100%, yeah. So more so emotionally linked, I think, and holiday linked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've been in exactly the same situation. I've always kind of cut for a holiday or something like that. You go on holiday, you let loose, and because the biggest way I can describe it is, imagine your body like a sponge, and whilst you're cutting, you're literally just squeezing that sponge, just squeezing it dry. You go on holiday and just go, poof, let go. It's going to soak up all that water, and you're just going to blow up. You're primed. Your body just wants to store body fat. Whereas if you can kind of, maybe if you are cutting for a holiday, be ready 4-6 weeks earlier than your actual holiday, then you can slowly start to loosen that sponge and hopefully limit the amount of water that you actually do gain. But obviously, you know what I mean? I'm just trying to make that pretty clear for people so they can understand it. How do you reckon the yo-yo dieting's affected your results in terms of strength, physique, and different things like that?
Well, this year is probably, yeah, it's quite possibly the worst cut I've ever done in my life. Lost a lot of tissue, a lot of size, and mentally felt pretty fucking horrendous. Just felt skinny, small, weak, like the entire time. Again, that was due to like emotional things. And then we just came out of lockdown. All the boys were just on the piss all the time. And trying to do that whilst cutting is obviously not optimal drinking. I know people like, if it fits your macros, blah, blah, blah. But one thing I can say is starving yourself throughout the day on a Saturday. Say you save 1,000 calories to drink, like I wouldn't just drink, it'd be like a whole bottle of vodka on that night. It wouldn't just be a few vodka lemonades, do you know what I mean? So saving 1,500 calories for that night, dying through the day, booze hits you hard, and then you get like a Domino's takeaway that Saturday night. You're already at like, say you've done a bottle of vodka, Domino's, whatever, that's a good 3,500 calories right there. No amount of saving that through the day is going to do anything. And then the next day you're either hanging and you're just inhaling crap, or you just don't eat. And then you're finding yourself come the Monday, you've got Monday to Friday to absolutely kill yourself into the ground. I was on like 1,800 calories for 12 weeks plus.
Which is mad. For those of you who don't know Danny's like 5'11", 6 foot. And we're probably like around the 90 kilo mark, 92, 93 kilo mark at that time.
Yeah.
I've got females who lose more lose on that.
I was doing 10K steps a day. I was cycling 10K plus a day. It was horrendous. And it just wasn't shifting, just purely just from overdoing it at the weekends. Yeah. But due to the alcohol, it's 100% down to the alcohol. The tissue I lost was mental compared to other years.
Yeah, big time. I think the other thing with the kind of yo-yo dieting front of it in terms of your results is if you're constantly yo-yoing, you're not actually spending that much time in a surplus. And
exactly. I was probably spending 4 out of 7 days in a deficit, do you know what I mean? Then the others, say if you go out on the Friday, you go out on the Saturday, that's 2-3 days there already where you're over.
Yeah, 100%. You're probably actually eating into the deficit that you created. Even in terms of like an off season, if you're trying to gain, and you're constantly trying to getting too heavy, so it means you have to cut earlier. When we're talking about trying to make the most lean gains, get the strongest we can, being in a calorie surplus is the most optimal environment, eating more calories than we need just by a very small amount. If we're eating way too much, we're getting too heavy, we're gaining too much body fat, then you're going to have to cut early. You can spend less time in the optimal environment. Like me and Johnny spoke about this when we did our biggest mistakes on the podcast, and it was saying it was literally this thing getting too heavy, so we were spending next to nothing in an actual surplus.
Yeah, you boys are doing 6-month cuts and all sorts, weren't you?
Yeah, my first big cut was 6 months, and I did like 4 months, 1 month off, 2 months, and stuff like that. It's just not where you want to be. I think going kind of to the other side of it, like we kind of said, it really, really, really affects your the mental side of things as well. Because when you're on it, you feel freaking incredible. You feel like you could like capture the world, mate. You feel so productive, everything like that. But as soon as you slip off, then you go, you go and yo-yo, you kind of binge or something like that. You feel so bad about it. You're having constant war in your head, and it's just not healthy for you or the people around you, because it can really kind of rub off on the people around you. But had any experience with that?
Well, yeah, mentally, I was a mess on that cut. I know I spoke to you about it. I spoke to Will about it. I was like, I got to the point towards the end of it, I was like, I think I could develop an eating disorder from this, just because the fluctuations were so extreme. It wasn't just a simple yo-yo. It was like thousands of calories difference. And then just weeks on weeks on weeks on weeks of doing that was starting to build it into almost a habit of that yo-yo. It wasn't just doing it on a one-off, going out once a month. It was like a weekly thing for months, really.
Yeah.
And yeah, I felt horrendous. Felt horrendous in the gym. The only time I'd end up in a cut-off is I go in with like 3 layers on, like hoodie, oversized t-shirt, and a cut-off. Like I wouldn't go in a cut-off just flat, do you know what I mean? Because I felt tiny, like tiny. I can't describe. Head was shot.
Yeah, then that links into your confidence, and if you're not feeling self-confident, that links into all areas of your life, not just literally your physique and things like that. It's going to go family, relationships, friends, everything, professional. So I think it's massively important that we do kind of give some people some like actionable takeaways that they can kind of run with into 2021 to make sure that they don't fall into the trap of yo-yo dieting like they may have in the past, or like we have in the past, and kind of teach them some of the stuff that we have both learned from this. I'll kind of kick it off. And I think one of the most important things is getting your head in the right place, like you said, but it's having a why. Everybody can say, I want to get leaner, I want to be able to get confident on the beach or whatever like that, but why do you want to do it? And if your why isn't in the right place, then your motivation's always going to come and go, but if you've got a strong why, it's going to get you through when times start getting tough. And you've got to be doing it for the right reasons. If you're doing it for the wrong reasons, like you've come out of breakup and you want to make an ex jealous, for example, or something like that, you're doing it for someone else. You need to do this shit for you massively, okay? Anything to say on that?
Yeah, like you said, if you don't have your own reason for doing that cut or whatever, I didn't really have a reason to do it and say till like what, 3 weeks before when we decided that shoot. So I wasn't taking it seriously. There'd be nothing to stop you from opening that cupboard, opening that freezer, having a Ben and Jerry's. Because what reason have you got? You haven't got that reason to hold yourself accountable for it. If your why is not strong enough, then you'll just lose it.
Yeah, and the right why. That's the thing. I think having someone to talk to someone who's close to you and say, yeah, I want to do this. If they can be objective and tell you why the fuck do you want to do that? Right? I think the word why is so underrated. Anybody can say anything, but as soon as you ask why, it makes people actually think about it. Okay, makes that thought process, and it goes, oh, do I really actually want that? Because if the answer is no, then that's fine. Don't do it. But if the answer is yes, now you've got that drive, you've got that fire inside you to go and get after it. What's another kind of good takeaway that people can go and action after they've kind of got a strong why behind the goal of wanting to go and get into the shape of their life?
I think having a plan to actually stick to and see you through. If you're just kind of winging it yourself, you kind of made up your own plan. You're not really structured, say you're weighing yourself once a week, tracking your food every now and then. You could have one dodgy weigh-in and you just go like off the rails. It could fluctuate by kilo, but really your other 6 days out of that one have been lows. You just have that one high and that could throw you off if you got nothing to stick to it. And that having that plan there, say if you got a coach, if you got a friend that's made it, if you've made it yourself, it just keeps you accountable for sticking to that in the week.
It comes to kind of setting that big goal, which is I want to lose 10 kilos, for example. Then break it down. That means I need to lose half a kilo every week for the next 20 weeks. Or I need to lose a kilo every week for the next 10 weeks. Now, what are the small little actionable points that you can do each day to get you towards that 1 kilo per week? Track your calories, know your steps, get your workouts in. That makes it achievable. But without a plan in place, you don't know how you're going to get there. Okay, it's just about breaking it down, putting a plan in place, and then keeping yourself accountable to it. Kind of what you touched in with the kind of scales and things like that. Seeing big fluctuations can definitely put people off. And as we both know, and I'm sure a lot of the listeners know, there's a million different things that can cause your body weight to fluctuate. Stress, what time you weighed yourself, if you've been to the toilet, if you trained the day before, if you're a female, menstrual cycle, the list is literally endless. What's a good way for people to deal with kind of weight fluctuations on the scales and to monitor their progress in terms of their weight moving in the direction they want it to?
I find the best way, weigh yourself daily, every single day. Don't skip a day. I know sometimes you wake up, you feel heavy, you're like, oh, don't step on the scale today, it might be a heavy weigh-in. Do you know what I mean? You're smiling, you've done it, I've done it. Sometimes you surprise yourself and it's sweet, but take that first weekly average and compare it to the second weekly average. Don't just go off that one weigh-in, and then if your averages are holding, then think about switching things up. But if your averages are still dropping, stay as it is.
And on that, like when we're looking at those kind of weekly averages, the kind of rate of loss that people should be looking at is actually a hell of a lot slower than what everyone thinks. When you look at the TV and you see the biggest loser and they lose 17 pounds in a week, and you're like, oh my God, yeah, and these people rebound like a motherfucker and they end up being critically obese again 12 weeks after the show. The kind of rate of loss that you want to be looking at is anywhere from 0.5 to 1.5% of your body weight. Okay, towards the start of your dieting phase, you probably are going to be a little bit higher on that, but towards the end, you're probably going to be lower. So if we average out, we aim for 1% per week, you're doing very, 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 very well.
Yeah.
Okay. So for me, if I'm 85 kilos, I'm going to be looking at losing about 0.85 kilos a week, or anywhere from half a kilo to 1 kilo. That's me on a nice, sustainable rate of loss that isn't going to dig me into a freaking hole and make me want to yo-yo quite so much. Okay.
And on that, just say on that first week when you start that cut, I dropped quite a lot. Initially, I probably dropped 2 kilos in that first week due to a lot of it being water. But then come that second week and it slows down, don't get disheartened and think, oh, it's slowed down. Realize that that first week is just your body getting into that rhythm, losing that bit of excess water weight. It's not that slowing down drastically and you've then got to drop calories.
Yeah, 100%. That first couple of weeks can literally be, it can be water, it can just be food volume. You've literally got more, like, less food inside of you. Quite often, as soon as people kind of go, right, I'm on a diet, I'm going to cry, they drink more water as well, so they actually flush more water out. It's literally endless. So yeah, that's a freaking awesome point. Something else which I think is massively important is the kind of approach to the diet. And in terms of the diet, within the diet, we've spoken about a sustainable approach. Are there any kind of takeaways that you've seen that have worked really well, maybe in terms of like weekly calorie targets and borrowing and lending calories or anything like that?
Yeah, borrowing and lending calories is like, I think that's the biggest one in order for you to fit it into your lifestyle. Okay. So then if you're not borrowing and saving calories, you're very restricted. Say if you're only on 2,000 calories and you're wanting to go out for a meal with your family or your friends that night, and you're only saving it from that day, that's going to lead you into a very harsh day of eating fuck all, really. Whereas if you've taken, say, 100, 200 calories from leading up to the first like 5 days, that could give you like 1,000 calories extra on that day, which is going to make it a lot easier for you to fit that in.
Yeah, so that all comes down to kind of being a bit more proactive than reactive with things again. It comes into you, especially if you're in this kind of dieting phase or something like that, it comes down to planning. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. It sounds super cliche, but it's so freaking true. Just to kind of break that down for people, let's say, for example, you're on 2,000 calories a day, and that's you in a deficit. 2,000 calories a day, 7 days a week, that's 14,000 calories for the week. As long as you hit that number, it doesn't really matter massively how you distribute those calories throughout the week, okay? Just be aware that it may cause your day-to-day weigh-ins to fluctuate a little bit if you've eaten a bit more on one day and things like that. That's why we focus on those weekly averages, okay? If you're borrowing and lending calories, mate, is there a kind of maximum that you could give people a number that they kind of would borrow and lend?
I'd probably say 10% of your daily. So say you're on 2,000 calories, I wouldn't take more than 200 from a day. Otherwise, you just end up a bit low, really, I find.
I think that is what leads into the binging. If weekly calories are absolutely incredible, I would put, if I was to say one thing that's helped me get over any yo-yoing, I would put it down to weekly calorie targets. And one other thing, which I'll touch on in a second. But if you borrow and lend too many, that sets you up to binge big time. So I think giving yourself kind of boundaries on that and rules that I don't borrow more than this is really, really, really freaking important. Because if you let yourself get too hungry, you're just setting yourself up to want to go and eat everything in sight. Likewise, if you borrow and lend too much to one day and you end up absolutely freaking rammed and you're stuffed, you look so full, you literally want to be sick, like you're probably overeating. And two, you just don't want to get used to that feeling because you're going to want to feel full all the time. Big time. Something else that I've done is actually using calorie ranges. Have you tried it?
No, not as such.
I
find it easier just to aim for a bang on number for me, because I work shifts and things like that. It's easy for me to just stick to that and then prep it the day before, plan the day before, work out those exact calories rather than a range. I find I go off the rails a bit.
Yeah. Something that we've done with a load of clients, like I said, I personally don't do it either with you because I just like to borrow and lend. For people who just like a little bit more kind of consistency throughout the day, but a degree of flexibility, we've just given them like a 10% kind of leeway each way. And it probably normally 9 times out of 10 actually averages out. So if you're on 2,000 calories, we say, right, as long as you land between 1,900, 2,100 or 1,800, 2,200, happy days. Because there's always days where we're hungrier. We have a hungry day. We have a day where we don't want quite so much.
Mm-hmm.
You have a day where you're hungrier and you're going, I can only stick to 2,000 calories. You're just mentally draining yourself. Whereas if you give yourself...
It's going to stop people fixating on that number. Like sometimes you probably had it, I've had it, you have a client where they're like, I've got 90 calories left. What can I have? It's like, you don't have to have it just because you've got those set calories.
Yeah.
It's like, it's fine. If you don't want anything to eat, don't have it.
Yeah. Or if you've got something that's 150 calories, don't worry about it. Like,
exactly.
Kill you. Those extra 50 calories. Yeah, massively. You mentioned that you kind of plan your food out before you eat it. Has that been a big game changer?
Yeah. So the day before, I'll track and log all my food that I'm going to have the next day, the day before I have it. Especially if I'm going out or something, and then you're planned, you're set for the day. If you've got your meals there, you're going to stick to them, you're going to eat them. You're not going to go, oh, I'll just grab this from the shop or something. It's going to make you 10 times more likely to have it. You're not going to waste it for the sake of wasting it.
Yeah, 100%. I always say to people, the reason you've got into the position you have is 2 reasons. 1, you're shit at making decisions. And 2, you don't know what's in food. So you're not good at making decisions on the fly because you don't know what's in food. So how can we eliminate both of those? We use MyFitnessPal and we track our food before we put it in our mouth. That way the decisions making taken out of it. We know what's in food because MyFitnessPal tells us, and that starts to give us an education around it. And then we pre-plan, so we take the decision making out of it. Because you might, right, I've got 500 calories left for dinner. You go, great, I'm gonna have this small pizza. It turns out the pizza's 800 calories. Oh no, I've gone over. Like so many of us.
I'm gonna go. Fuck it, I'm gonna go really over.
Yeah, and then some people do that. So it's about planning before, because then you know what you've got to do. Okay, so if you do want to have a meal out, plan the meal out before, then work the rest of your day back around it and just watch your results and your levels of adherence and consistency go from 20-30% to 80-90-100%. Because at the end of the day, none of this matters if you don't stick to things. All of these strategies that we've just kind of given you are all just adherence strategies. It's literally that simple. Last point I kind of want to cover, mate, is going to be something which I personally think I have massively neglected over a few of my cuts, and it's the plan after the plan, or the diet after the diet. So like we kind of search on it when we go on holiday, scrap it, done. Okay. I think people yo-yo because they think once they've got to their goal, they're done.
Yeah, that's the thing. We did it. I did a huge rebound after we did our show. Do you know what I mean? I went from, I was 82 kilos flat. I was like 83, 84, like normal weight. Do you know what I mean? And then because you dug so deep, I had no plan for afterwards. I just wanted to fucking eat some food because I buried myself. And that comes back to yo-yoing and not having a structure leading up to that. I was doing 10,000 calories a day for 3 to 5 days, and then doing 5,000 calories after that. I gained 5 kilos in 3 days, and then it never dropped. It held. That wasn't water weight. That was solid weight. And that was partly down to not having a plan after it, and also having no one to hold you accountable for that plan after it. Sure, I could have, and I probably could have been strict with myself and stuck to set calories and reversed out of it, but that wasn't the headspace I was in. I was done with it. I was over it.
Yeah, big time. So if you don't have a goal for after this, it's so easy just to lose track, and it might seem a little bit difficult. I've worked so hard to get here, just want to relax a little bit. But quite often, if you kind of give yourself an inch, you'll mentally, you want to take a mile. So it's about kind of, saying, right, great, we're going to go out, we're going to have a meal out, we'll enjoy it, but tomorrow we're just going to kind of get a little bit more on track. We're going to open up maybe calorie ranges, we're going to give you a bit of structure, but this is the plan moving forward over the next 4, 8, 12 weeks. This is the goal we want to achieve after the goal. Because I think as soon as you think about loosening, you can loosen too much. But also, I think as soon as you think, oh, right, I'm done, just you're mentally fucked. You're mentally fucked.
And then that's going to send you into a yo-yo itself. Like, do what I did, you gain 5 kilos in a few days. That's going to catch up to you in the mirror. That kind of took about a week or two, like in the mirror. Scale weight stayed the same. But in the mirror, visually, it took about a week or two to actually load on. Do you know what I mean? And then that's going to send you into, maybe I should pull it back. Maybe I should try drop those 5 kilos and then go again. Yeah. But then that's already leading you into going up and down.
Yo. So make sure you get a plan after the plan. And I personally think refeed days and reverse diets are the way to go with that. I know a lot of people question the kind of research on reverse diets and things like that. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much I believe in the research, but from coaching a hell of a lot of people, and you've done the same, I've just seen it's a good way to slowly bring up calories and just slowly loosen the kind of amount.
Yeah, and it gives you that freedom without completely ruining it. If you're adding on 100 calories each week, after 5 weeks, you've got an extra 500 calories. It adds a lot of, more flexibility to what you can do lifestyle-wise. Also
teaches you how to maintain. Maintain's a freaking skill, man. We spoke about this with Sam and the Journey of a Transformation podcast. And it's the journey after journey and learning. Dieting's a skill, gaining's a skill, maintaining is a skill. If you've got to an awesome position, you've probably got the dieting skill down, but maintaining is a very, very difficult skill at the same time. Mate, are there any other points that you reckon people could take a lot away from?
Don't think less is more, whether you're cutting or if you're bulking. We've all done it. Me and you tend to just commit, especially on a bulk. We've both done it. We've gone big and gone hard.
Simon at 102 kilos.
Yeah, you don't want to see our faces at 100 kegs. Don't go too hard. So we did that in that surplus, and then instantly, say if you've gone too hard in the first month, 2 months, you're then going to be looking at yourself in the mirror like, oh, maybe I should pull back a bit. I'm getting a bit fat now. So you would do that. It would do that mini cut, and then you'll just go too hard again. And then that's not going to give you any sustainable progress, dipping in and out of that every month or 2 months. Try and go slow, gradually gain weight. If you're bulking 0.5%, 1% a month, a lot slower than if you were doing a cut. Do you know what I mean?
Quarter of the speed, literally. The rate of loss for cutting, do that over a month rather than a week. It's literally simple. I think that kind of comes back to being a bit more process orientated. Like, it sounds super cliche again, I've said that a lot. Fall in love with the process rather than the result. Okay, stop getting obsessed about the result that you want and think about what you're doing, and just think about process. Yes, I get to train. I get to see little wins each week. Yes, I get to go and hit my steps and walk with some friends. I get to eat all this healthy food and kind of feel good. I feel productive and feel in a good place. Okay. Right. Just quick fire here, mate. Your top 3 tips for people to overcome yo-yo dieting. Go. Put you on the spot.
Have someone to support you that you can talk to if you're going to go off the rails, or that is also doing the same goal that you're going to do. If you're going to start a 12-week cut, it's nice to have that friend or someone that can join you for that 12-week cut. You get your steps together, you talk about whatever struggles you're having, etc. Have a plan set in place and have a date or a body weight goal in mind to finish that off. Otherwise, you're just going to go endless and endless and endless. So whether that's a coach or just a set plan in general. And then the third one is have that why and that your head screwed on for it. Don't have like just came out of a breakup or whatever it might be because you're going to emotionally eat. Have your why set and just be mentally prepped for it.
100%. Love that, man. Just on the one thing in terms of kind of having like an end date or something in place. I think photo shoots are absolutely incredible for that. I know
you're going to put pressure on yourself for that, because if you're going to turn up looking shit, you're going to be gutted about it.
Yeah, man.
It's only on you. It's you to blame. Do you know what I mean?
That's next level. That's next level accountability. And right, I need to dial it in for this date. For the people out there,
that's what's good with clients. I think actually having that end date, that final transformation photo as such, it's good for them to say, "Oh, I've got this in 4 weeks."
Yeah, I need to dial it in and just count those days down.
Yeah,
for people who haven't done a photo shoot, it can seem like super posy, not something you want to do. If you're serious about getting into shape and building your confidence and something like that, like I would recommend doing a photo shoot so much. Like, from my perspective, I've actually got an Instagram post that went up over Christmas about this. And it was basically that moment that Ben, the photographer, turned his camera around and showed me the image that he'd taken. I didn't believe it was me. But all my friends and family around were like, yeah, that was you. Like, you've absolutely killed it. Like, a lot of the time the mirror, the scales, all different metrics like that will play tricks on you, but the photos can really, really show you the truth and make you realize how freaking well you've done. Okay?
Yeah, and I think it makes you. I think it makes you and clients realize. Say like 3 months after you finish that shoot, you're on your way up, you're doing lean bulk or whatever. You then look back on them and realize, oh shit, I was actually pretty fucking peeled.
Mate,
Yeah, we've all done it. We all do it on a cut. I had severe body dysmorphia this year. Do you know what I mean? People were like, you look good. I felt horrendous in my own body, in my own head. Then I look back on them now, I'm like, actually, they're all right. Yeah. Whereas I looked at them when we did them, I was like, I look fucking horrendous.
Yeah, with a donut and a Domino's in your hand. Anyway, thank you very much for coming on, mate. I'm sure we'll have you on a couple of future podcasts because you now are team Aesthetic Strength. Welcome to the team, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. Honestly, really, really appreciate it. Any comments, questions, let us know. Also, if you could screenshot this podcast and drop it on your IG story, that'd be awesome. And I will catch you later.